On this week's episode of the Eldritch Lorecast, we're taking a little bit of time off to play Fate Accelerated, a role-playing game by Evil Hat Productions in this, a very grim hollow Christmas. Hello everybody and welcome to this week's episode of the Eldritch Lorecast. My name is Ben Byrne here, as always, with Dale Kingsmill, Sean Merwin, James Hake, and this week we're doing something a little bit different, partly because we are looking through time. Once again, we're pre-recording this, so we're existing somewhere in the future right now, in our future. We also don't know what's going to happen in our future, so we thought as a season's greetings gift to you all and to ourselves, we take a bit of a load off this week, relax our thinking brains. Well, at least the three of you can relax your thinking brains. I'm still going to be thinking a fair bit here because we are playing Fate. We're playing Fate Accelerated, to be specific, which is a role-playing game by Evil Hat Productions. And we're playing this game because it was what Ben could learn in a week and be able to run it at the same time. I was a little bit apprehensive about doing this just because I've never run Fate before, but I want this to be a symbol for all those out there that want a dungeon master, want a game master, want to run their own games, want to learn a new system, but find it intimidating. Just do it. Just get out there and give it a go, because that's what I'm doing today. Never run this before, so judge me not harshly. What's the opposite of harshly? Dale, what's the opposite of harshly?
Kindly?
Kindly. Thank you. Okay, hopefully I don't have brain freezes like that during this whole
That English
thing.
lit degree finally coming in handy.
I reckon. All right, I will take a moment. If you've never played Fate before, I'm just going to do a quick primer of the rules. I'm not going to explain everything, just because we want to play more than we want to explore the rules. But if you've never played Fate before, just so you can follow along with what's happening, the main focus, and please correct me, Dale and or Sean, who have played this before if I get any of this wrong, the main focus of the game is really about collaborative storytelling through aspects and fate points. And aspects are basically something that describes a character or a thing. So for example, an aspect could be like, this is a cat and it sleeps all day is one of its aspects. It's always sleeping. So chances are you'll find that cat asleep. But you can invoke a fate point to use an aspect, such as, I'm going to sneak past that cat and I'm going to give myself a bonus by using a fate point because the cat's asleep. So therefore, I should be able to get past that cat safely. Sean, is that a fairly good encapsulation of things?
That is such a wonderful encapsulation of things. Wow. I'm impressed.
Oh, wow. Let me just...
You do. You impressed Sean.
Yes. Yes. I can be happy now. I just run out of frame. You never see me again. I've lived my life goals. Cool. All right. Well, with that out of the way, let us jump straight into our seasonal game of Fate Accelerated. You can find some of these rules online, and I think that I know because I went and purchased this through DriveThruRPG. So if you do want to give this role-playing game a go, you definitely can. However, we are setting our game, and this is one of the great things about Fate, is it's quite setting agnostic. You can run anything you want with it, aliens and spaceships or cowboys or fantasy or modern drama or high school or all of those mixed together. We are setting our Fate game, surprise, surprise, in the world of Grim Hollow. And I suppose without further ado, let us begin this seasonal adventure. 'Tis all winter solstice, and silent in the city of Landhaus. Not a creature dared move, not even a barn mouse. Gripped by terror, 1 year more, the folk of the village locked all their doors. The monster called the Giver thudded upon their roofs, leaving gifts in their house like rotted fish and old boots. Some old-fashioned onions, others found lumps of coal, some an animal's bones or the head off a doll. Fed up with these gifts, the giver too, the village bands together to make this monster shoe. And this is where you come in, our brave heroes 3, to scare away this monster and set Landhaus free.
Woo!
Yay! Very
Excellent.
nice.
We begin our tale in the main square of Landhaus, where 100 villagers gather holding pitchforks and torches, listening to a man who stands on a wooden stage yelling and ranting. Snow blankets the stage and the cobblestone streets and the roofs of the houses nearby, and snowflakes drift down softly from above, from the night sky. It is only recently sundown. The sun set maybe an hour ago, and the village has now banded together, knowing that it's the winter solstice, and inevitably the giver will strike again, leaving these unpleasant, macabre, gribbly gifts in the houses of those that live in Landhaus, which is a village that started off very small, just a collection of small wooden huts, but through the years has grown, being on the main artery of a trading route, has grown and gotten bigger and kind of spread across to the farmland that surrounds it. So it's a fairly big task to give gifts to every man, woman, and child and everyone within Landhaus, but the giver seems to accomplish it every year. The villagers having had enough. There are 3 particular fateful individuals that are also gathered within the town square, listening to this individual up on stage, ranting and raving. And the first of these individuals, Kalos Drake. Kalos, would you like to describe what you look like?
Yes, I am Kalos Drake. I am a sorcerer who resides on the outskirts of Landhaus, atop a hill, gazing down upon all within the village. And though I spend much of my time gazing into my mystic orb, peering into worlds beyond this, seeking any strange tales from the beyond, I have seen things here. I know that the people of Landhaus who saved my life long ago deserve better than this paltry fate of rat carcasses and onions at best in the socks which they hang over their fireplaces at night. I have seen other worlds where such foul givers do not darken the doorstep of towns much like this one, and I will see this foolishness put to an end. I'm dressed in flowing crimson robes, the scruff of a beard and mustache about my face, images of dragons and other arcane paraphernalia wrapped about my form, and I stand before these people, prepared to give unto them the good turn that they deserve.
Are you separating yourself from the audience? Are you perhaps on the stage as well, or nearby the stage?
Oh, most certainly. Arms open. Voice raised, staff above my head, orb in the other, making myself as peacockishly large as my already voluminous robes give me the power to be.
Great, perfect, fantastic. Are you in fact the man ranting and raving upon the stage? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think there's no other option.
Yeah, perfect. Good. Also, perhaps hidden within the crowd here is Brillo Greenback. Brillo, I would suggest you're maybe feeling a little uncomfortable knowing that this crowd of an angry mob, almost called the mobsters. I guess people in a mob, are they mobsters? Is that the definition of mobster? Anyway.
I mean, sure,
so
why
It is
not?
now.
these angry mobsters. Among them are bounty hunters and individuals that hunt for never-do-wells for gold. So I suggest purely that Brillo Greenback is perhaps feeling a little uncomfortable, but tell me what Brillo looks like.
Brillo is wearing everything he owns. So he doesn't have a backpack per se. You know, his tea kettle is perched on his head as a helmet. The washboards that he uses to wash his clothes provide cover to his front and his back. His elbows are cups, tin cups, allowing for minimal but still smooth movement. And really what he's thinking after already having checked out all the bounty hunters in the crowd and being pretty sure that none of them have been to the cities that he's been to, is wondering why these people aren't selling these things that the giver is giving. Sure, you might not get a lot for a fish bones, but I'm sure somebody could make soup out of them. And coal? Do you know what coal is going for these days? So in his head, he's going, oh, these people don't know what they've got a good here. They've got a good, and I'm going to take it from them.
Oh, okay. So your goal here is to collect the gifts that the giver is leaving, or perhaps to try to collect the giver themselves and get all the goods for yourself?
Well, there's probably more valuable things in their homes, which we will definitely have to investigate because we need to figure out how the giver gets into their homes. And of course, I won't be like leaving doors secretly unlocked because that would be wrong.
Okay, fair. Someone to keep an eye on, certainly. And speaking of which, someone to keep an eye on, also within the crowd, Eleanor Blakeney. Am I pronouncing that correct?
Blakeney.
Blakeney. What does Eleanor look like?
Well, funny enough, Eleanor is, a slightly taller woman, a little bit scrawny, and she has very pale skin and brown curly hair. What a surprise. She's a half elf, and she's dressed very inconspicuously.
Okay.
Whatever very inconspicuous means. Because she definitely doesn't have a secret identity at night as the Landhaus Phantom who steals into people's houses without leaving a trace, except for her calling card taking whatever valuables with her. She's definitely not a cat burglar. It's all okay. Don't worry about it.
Starting to sense a theme here. Like, as the giver goes out and gives gifts, people in Landhaus are going to be like, the giver didn't come this year because someone's going to be creeping along behind, taking
everything. Yeah, that's how we solve the problem. We just become the takers every year.
Right.
Done.
Okay. Solved. Why didn't they think of this?
I foresee that she, or current see, whatever the present tense version of foresee is, I feel in my heart that the reason Eleanor is volunteering to help out in stopping the giver is because she's just a little bit PO'd that he's getting more attention for his break-ins, his reverse heists, than she is for her heists.
Okay, fair.
Or she would be if she were a cat burglar.
The crowd at the moment, as mentioned, having pitchforks and torches or some collection of thing among them of weapon, are kind of getting riled up by Kalos, who behind you, Kalos, stands a man who you know is the town crier, but he also has the ear of the alderman. So he's here on behalf of the alderman, but you having taken to the stage and riling up the crowd yourself, he basically, feeds you the tidbits of information that you need to feed to the crowd. Tells you that tonight is the night that we're going to hunt the giver. Go out into the streets, good folk, and find this creature and bring it back, and that there's a 500 gold piece reward offered for the giver if they can be brought back alive, and a 300 gold piece reward if the giver's body can be brought back as evidence that the monster has been slain. How do you relay this to the crowd?
I say it boldly, flashily, with much gesticulating and bursting of arcane fire, and I conclude it all off with, "And brave people of Landhaus, you go out, you be the eyes and ears of justice in this place, while I stay here in the center of town, making preparations for a ritual that I tell to you will put an end to this so-called giving once and for all."
Okay, cool. The crowd definitely seem riled up and ready to go, but for the sake of indulging in the rule set momentarily, sorry, Brillo, what are you doing at this moment?
And you with your hand raised in the crowd, what say you?
If we bring it back alive and then kill it while it's here, do we get 800 gold?
I say, there is nothing in the rules that forbids such an action. And I kind of look at the herald behind me, kind of like, yeah, right?
Yeah, we can do that.
He's sure, yeah.
Brillo pulls his banjo out and begins sharpening the blade at the end of it.
God.
All right. So, is your intention at the moment, Kalos, to send the crowd out? You're trying to amp them up and send them out through the town looking for the giver.
Yes. Of all of my approaches, careful is the one with a +0 in it. So I don't think collateral damage is really on Kalos's mind, even a little bit.
Okay, cool. Can I get you, now this is, I believe, creating an advantage is what I'm going to call this action. And basically the idea is that if you succeed on a roll, and I'll get you to roll flashy because you've been so, amping
Flashy
up the crowd
about
and flashy about it, exactly. You can try to create an aspect on the crowd, and that aspect could be whatever you want it to be. You could be like they all run off and they're vehemently, furiously tearing into houses, or they all run off and they're all, carefully, very politely looking through the houses. You can choose what sort of aspect you want to try and create. So I'll get you to make a roll for me, a fate roll, if you will, and add flashy to it.
Okay, here it goes. My flashy is +3, so let's roll. The dice show -1, but that is a total of 2 that we're getting out of there.
Okay, cool. That is enough. That is enough. This crowd, you've got this crowd kind of wrapped around your little finger at this point, so you can kind of send them out in any sort of mood that you want to. What aspect do you want to give the crowd?
I will say that a new aspect for this crowd is riled up.
Great. Okay, cool.
And I think that would mean that they're very sort of persuadable. They're angry. As long as you can give them an indication that something is in their best interest, they won't think too hard about it. They'll just kind of go because they're swept up in the wave.
Gotcha. Okay, not a problem. I believe this is the way it works. At any point, anybody can for free. You don't need to spend a fate point if you want to use the riled up aspect from the crowd, because Brillo has generated that aspect. The crowd do start to kind of disperse. Some people just running, just picking a direction. They're like, wait, and just go sprinting off between the alleyways. Some of them form groups, and you can see them sort of, and they don't do this, and they're making, small plans, but they're moving as they go. They're definitely not standing still and making maps in the snow or anything like that. They're just picking a house, and already close by there are some people banging on doors to be let in. What at this point, Eleanor, are you going to do?
Let me see. I think I'm going to look for the richest houses nearby. That just feels like a good place to start.
Okay.
Just glancing around. I'm not wandering over or anything. Just looking around. What are the wealthiest looking buildings? And they don't have to be houses.
Gotcha. Okay. Make for me I assume this is overcoming an obstacle. This is kind of, I'm translating this into 5e in my head. It's what's a perception check in Fate? Make for me a careful roll.
A careful roll. I'm glad that it's careful because I have a bonus there. Can I double check? I'm rolling 4 dice, am I?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. And for people at home, just so you know, I'm rolling 6-sided dice and 2 sides are blank. 2 sides have minuses and 2 sides have pluses. And you add them to your numbers. All right. Okay, so that came out zip total, which gives me a 2 for my check.
Okay, cool. Gotcha. So two
So
after
I've
your
got
modifier.
a bonus of +2, and my roll came out square, came out even.
Gotcha.
What do they call this in Fate? A 2 is a good roll, I think.
I believe so. Yeah, it's 2 is fair, 3 is good.
2 is fair.
Yeah. As you look through the sort of night streets, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eleanor, are you half elf?
I am a half elf, yes. I
So
got them pointy ears.
as we all know with dark vision, you scan through the streets, can see maybe a few blocks further than most other people, and as you look off in the distance, you can see that there is like a house. It's not a mansion per se. In fact, I'd call it about the size of like, you know, a 3-bedroom, 2-story home or something like that. Maybe a 4-bedroom, 2-story home. But in the context of Landhaus, where most people are living in sort of little 1-bedroom homes, the rent in Landhaus is just unbelievable. You would not even know. It looks like probably a wealthy-ish place to start, you know. Upper middle class. Brillo, you standing in the crowd see this half elf, assuming that you two don't already know each other, actually, kind of scanning around.
We use the same fence.
Oh, you're here too. As everybody else just like scatters off in random directions, you can see this half elf who you recognize from your fence, Jeffrey the fence.
Jeffrey the fence.
Yeah, you guys know him. He's a great guy. Fencer. He build fences as well as fencing stolen items. So he
it's
kind of
the best cover.
Exactly. Yeah, old Jeffrey.
And he does sword play as well, so he fences.
How many fence puns can we come up with for Jeffrey?
Oh,
Jeffrey
several.
the fencer. This half elf has a plan. You can see that from the way that they're looking around, more so than just picking a random direction and running off.
Mm-hmm. What I'm going to do, I will keep an eye on Eleanor, who I've heard of, but I want to find sort of a big, tough, yet dumb-looking fellow who maybe, one who has a pitchfork, who isn't already with a group.
Mm-hmm. Easily done. You spot a guy.
Right. I want to sidle up to him and say, "Hey, you want to split the reward with me? I've got a lead. You stick with me, keep that pitchfork handy, and we'll be all set."
This guy Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm trying to create an advantage of having a big, dumb helper.
Okay, cool. Make for me... what would this be? Would this be clever or sneaky? What do you think?
I'm trying... It's up... I would say it's clever. Even though I'm better with sneaky, clever, I think I'm trying to be clever about it.
All right, I'd agree. Go roll clever for me.
All right. And on the dice, I got 3 pluses and 1 minus. So that comes out to +2. And my clever is +2. So that is a +4 total.
All right. This guy turns around, looks down at you. He's a big... barrel-chested, like Terry Crews looking dude. You know, just arms for days. He's got like a pitchfork, but he's like almost taller than the pitchfork. This guy's so huge. And as he looks down at you, he says, "I know you. There's a bounty for your head round these parts," and kind of like slowly lowers his pitchfork towards you. A smile creeps to his face, and he says, "Lead me to where this lead of yours is."
I will do so, big good sir.
He seems to be.
That's the guy's name is Big Good Sir.
Yep, that's officially it now.
Yes.
Cross out whatever I had. I'm going to what's the official wording? The official wording is to
Invoke.
Invoke.
Invoke an
Yes.
aspect.
I'm going to invoke your wanted for many offenses aspect against you. It doesn't have a huge effect right now. It's just more so that you don't know if you can trust this guy. Like he's swayed. He reckons that he'll follow you, but Big Good Sir might not be as good as he is big. and not so much of a sir as also a felon. That is, would happily take easy gold. But for the moment, he's kind of like following along. Maybe he believes that yes, you would know. Pardon me, where the good stuff is, where the good leads are.
Okay, cool. So just for our listeners out there, what just happened was we start with 3 fate points that we can use to our advantage. He used an aspect against me, so I get a fate point because that aspect was used against me, and I accepted it. I could say, no, I really don't want that to happen, but then I would have to spend a fate point in order to get that part of the story erased. So I will happily accept another fate point, bringing me up to 4. And now I have a maybe helper, maybe hinderer. We'll find out. And I will head toward Eleanor because I'm going to share my misfortune with my friends.
Excellent.
Okay.
Because I'm looking at this building and I want to hit a lot of places tonight. So I'm thinking that having a partner in crime tonight is going to be the way to go.
Okay, great. So you accept as they approach. What's the exchange
Absolutely.
between you?
I think I turn around looking for anyone and go, you!
Hey, Miss Eleanor, nice to see you. This is my friend Big Good Sir.
Nice to meet you, big good sir. I am a perfectly normal citizen.
This perfectly normal citizen, she is the one who's going to find the giver.
Aye.
You're looking for the giver too. Oh, that's interesting. Because I happen to need an extra set of hands.
Aye.
What do you say? We split the prize money. We take out the giver. We take a couple little things on the way. We'll be golden.
This guy looks down at Brillo and chuckles and goes, yeah, couple little things on the way.
Okay.
He seems very reasonable.
Yeah, he seems nice.
Cool. Are you heading off towards the larger building that you saw?
I mean, yeah, why not? Why not?
Great. The crowd departs so quickly and suddenly that the 3 individuals, Big Good Sir, Eleanor, Brillo, their mingling within the crowd does not go unnoticed by Kalos up on the stage. And these people separate themselves a little bit just by the very nature of the fact that, you know, particularly Brillo wearing a teapot or a pot on his head, they don't quite look like the ordinary kind of pitchfork citizens that the rest of the crowd looked like. And they have not an outward schemingness about them, but there is an obvious planning that is going on there. What is your thoughts on this, Kalos? Do you want to interact with this at all?
Yes, so as the crowd has sort of gone their separate ways, I have made my way down from the little stage that has been erected here and towards a big kind of bonfire in the middle of the town square. And I am holding aloft my mystic orb, kind of staring into it as flames reflect in its crystal surface. And I see within its depths the faces of 3 strangers who, perhaps is because those 3 strangers are right in front of me being magnified through the orb. And I gaze upon it and I see, yes, fate has indeed guided me towards these people. Herald! And I turn, I fling my cloak behind me and I look at the guy upon the stage still and I say, you emissary of the town master, you will maintain some semblance of order here. I believe that fate itself has guided me to where the giver is truly located. And I'd like to create an advantage here. Mm-hmm. I guess in the state of the town, which is friends of the townmaster, known to the townmaster. I'd like to make it so that if we get into any situation where the law is at hand, they see us as kind of official emissaries of the law.
Okay. Yeah, great. All right. Make for me. Although this is my 5e D&D brain coming in. Is I'm used to like the game master, dictating. All right, this is the ability you're going to use. This sounds like this check to me. I believe Fate is kind of the opposite. You can actually argue to me or put a case to me, more accurately, what approach you want to try and use. And I can say, this doesn't sound like you're breaking the door open with your feet carefully. This sounds like a forceful approach. But so what do you think that you would, this sort of check this would be?
I think it's funny that you mentioned forceful, because that's exactly what I'm thinking of. I think I'm just kind of turning to the guy, pointing directly at him and saying, "You will do this for me," and just kind of imposing my will upon him.
Gotcha. Force of personality. All right, make a forceful check for me.
All right, here comes the roll. 4 6-sided fate dice comes up 2 blank, 1 plus 1 minus. That's 0 on the dice. Plus 2 from forceful. A fair roll.
Okay, a fair roll. This individual, you know his name, if I didn't say it before, his name is Argus Grinch. Argus is the town crier, as mentioned, wrapped in brown scarves, a heavy black coat, and a tattered top hat that he wears atop his head. Brandishes, or has been brandishing, a short sword all night, and though it looks quite out of place in his hand, it does nonetheless flash dangerously in the torchlight and in the bonfire light. And I say he was flashing it because when you came on stage and kind of overshadowed him, he's just kind of been leaning on it the rest of the night, completely blunting the point of the blade by standing on it, demonstrating that he's indeed not a soldier. And as you point at him and make your demands, he looks at you and just, as you make this massive proclamation, he says, "All right," and starts one boot over the other to come down the steps off the stage and makes his way towards the alderman's house. Along the way, there's not really a guard force within Landhaus as much as like a militia, so to speak. And so he sort of is rounding up a couple folks as he goes, and you see him making his way off towards the alderman's house to make it official.
Very good. I think with that taken care of, I will walk towards the other people here who have been parted from the crowd, and I say, "The auspices of fate have smiled upon you. I believe I will follow your venture."
This is gonna be a problem.
Yeah, we can take care of him.
Okay.
He doesn't even have a sword.
Whoa. All right. We're ready to go. We're good to go. Join us in this honorable hunt. Yes.
I would be overjoyed to do so, yet fate is cloudy to me. You lead the way.
Okay. And I start walking off to that same house. We're just gonna have to do this under his nose. It's fine.
Cool. All right, no problem. As you begin to make your way, I am going to invoke, just as part of the end of that last scene, another aspect against Kalos, mysterious explosive magic, which I think is publicly known about. And in the lands of the Burak Empire, where Landhaus is situated, magic is seen with a great amount of suspicion and distrust. And while I would imagine that Kalos is a licensed spellcaster and therefore not an apostate, not actively pursued by any law enforcement, this guy, Mr. Good Sir, or Big Good Sir, sorry, my bad, Mr. Big Good Sir.
Please, just Big. Mr. Good Sir was my father.
He is suspicious of you as well. So you can take an extra fate point for his suspicion towards you. You're really not certain about Big Good Sir's feeling about being with this group. He follows at a bit of a distance, hugs close to Brillo, but stays quite distant away from Kalos.
Gladly. I would gladly accept that fate point.
All right.
As you're going along, there's like a row of houses, a row of doors. Some of the thugs, the what did we call them before? The mobsters are like knocking on people's doors, and you see some of them have like a fire axe and are like axing down somebody's door. Here's Johnny style. And then the poor person living inside, when the axe comes back, just sticks their head out the door, out the gap in their door, and just says, "What's all this about? What are you doing?" And the crowd are like, "Oh, we're going to get the giver. We're going to get him." And he's like, "You can't get the giver here. This is my home. Giver's not here. Go look somewhere else."
Go away.
Yeah, pretty much. He just seems bothered more than anything.
The approach I would like to take,
yeah, please,
to this particular home that we're approaching is, I want to figure out how the giver is getting into these houses. Okay, I feel like I think in a similar way, so I'd like to sort of not go straight in through the door. We've got big good sir. We could probably smash down the door, but rather than smashing down the door, I'd like to sort of case the joint a little bit and see if the giver was to break into this home, how would he do it? I want to start building an MO.
Okay, gotcha. All right. This definitely, to me, seems like a careful approach. Is that how you want to proceed with this? All right.
I do.
Roll careful for me.
I will do this thing that you ask. All right. Okay. Not great. That's two minuses and 1 plus on the dice, bringing me to a grand total of 1 for my roll.
So here's where we can start doing some cool things with fate. Since I am felonious, I am well versed in this sort of thing. So I want to use a fate point to add 2 to her roll.
Can I also add a fate point to my roll?
You sure can.
Just to really nail it in, because I should have been thinking of this. I want to invoke that I'm a notorious cat burglar.
Okay, great. Mm-hmm. So 2 is added for Eleanor being a notorious cat burglar, and 2 is added for Brillo being a felonious gnome, which took me a second. I was like, felonious? What is that? Like a cat? Oh, like a felon. Got it.
Yeah.
So that brings the total to 5. Costing you each a fate point. And as the two of you begin to case this house is
teamwork makes the dream work.
It has like a porch on the front of it with stairs that lead up. So the house is kind of on stilts, but there's no underneath it. Maybe it's got like a basement or something beneath it, but it definitely elevates this house above the buildings around it. Possibly why you spotted it in the street. You can see that it's got large windows, but the windows are intact as far as you see and probably locked. All the curtains are drawn. So just from the ground, as you case around the side of this thing, you can't see through the windows. The front door you assume is locked, and the back door, which is behind like a small fence that you can't see over the fence, it's head height. It's maybe 5-6 feet tall.
Jeffrey made that. Tall.
Mm-hmm. You can, you assume that the doors must be locked. The only other entrance you can think of as you look up and up and up is the chimney. But the chimney off the ground, it's 2 stories high, effectively kind of 3 stories. Not only is it very high, but you're not sure that you would fit down the chimney.
I look at Brillo.
He's already fairly soot covered, so yeah. Do I think I could fit down that chimney?
Probably, yeah, actually. I mean, chimneys they sort of narrow as they go up. So if you can get through the first little bit, then yes, you could get down to the bottom for sure.
Hey, Big, could you give me a boost over the fence?
All right.
This is in the name of investigation.
Yes. No tossing, just gentle.
Make for me a clever roll.
Clever. +2 -2 comes out to 0, and +2 for clever, so that's a 2.
Okay, great. You convince him and assuage him that he should not toss you over the fence, and just kind of, he looks like he's too enthusiastic to begin with, but then you talk him down and he raises you up and you go over into the backyard. There is in the backyard, so places can have aspects as well, and if I'm understanding how this works correctly, one aspect of this backyard is a dog. And the dog begins to bark as soon as you hit the ground, comes running out of its kennel, and you can see quite festively the dog has attached to its head, kind of like, held there probably with string, these like bony half-cut antlers. Which actually just make it look more terrifying as it dashes out of the darkness towards you, barking. The aspect of this dog is that it's chained, so it stops short of reaching you and kind of gets yanked by its chain a little bit, but continues to kind of growl and bark. It's not a big dog, but to Brillo, it's not a small dog.
I have a learned aversion to dogs barking in my line of work, so I'm going to pull out some dog treats that I always bring with me just in case.
All right.
And I'm gonna quickly try and sort of chill the dog out, calm it down.
Okay, so you're currently on the other side of the fence. Do you want to climb over the fence
I'll
as well?
I'll hop the fence.
All right, can I get you, just because you've done a few things here, but can I get you to do a roll for me? And I'll get this to be a, what do you, actually, yeah, again, I need to learn to, still thinking with my 5e brain. What do you think you should roll? And what I'm getting you to roll on is like basically getting over your own bravery to jump the fence, because you don't know what it looks like on the other side. You just hear the barking of the dog.
I think it's quickly. I think I'm trying to act fast.
Okay, great.
Because I also don't know that it's chained, and I need my partner to not get eaten today. So I'm just going to try and act fast.
And I am screaming like a little gnome, so you have that going for you.
All right, okay. So it's bad again. It's bad. The dice give me 2 minuses and a plus, which brings me to a -1, +1 for quick, which gives me 0.
You can't help but to kind of like freeze on the spot. You reach in, you grab the dog cookies, and who says Grim Hollow's not scary? Because as you pull out the cookie, your hand like shaking, it basically just kind of freezes there with this dog cookie shaking in your hand. The camera reverses, looks at Big Good Sir and Kalos, and they're just like kind of, what's...
Yeah, we like look at
they
each other.
hear even more screaming.
Kalos, how would you like to solve this situation?
I'd like to maybe assuage a number of situations at once. I'd like to spook the dog and maybe see if I can also quiet this riotous crowd from busting this guy's door down. This is the same house, right? They're the ones who are Jack Torrancing this guy's door down?
They're across the street from each other. So, like, where you're maybe you've been distracted as this has all been happening, like, looking over at that happening. But they're maybe, like, 3... I was about to say meters then. Let's say, maybe, like, 10 feet from each other, really, because it's, like, a side street beside the house. So you can see that happening, this guy getting pulled out through his door at the same time as you can hear the screams and dog barking from the other side of the fence.
Mm-hmm. I would like to just kind of spur of the moment, try and startle the dog, startle the crowd by I will throw my hand up into the air and shoot a firecracker up into the sky, essentially.
Okay.
And just cause this big up there. I think this is a flashy roll.
I think so too. Make a flashy roll for me.
Don't!
So one of the things we want to do is figure out if this is trying to create an advantage, which would then make an aspect, or if we're trying to overcome something. Because even if you fail, you can still succeed, but at a serious cost. So you get to choose if you want to succeed. But then we narratively say what happens, what's the serious cost of you doing that.
Okay, I quite like this, because I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to overcome the problem that that these burglars are facing, which is this dog is going to draw too much attention to them. I rolled 2 blank 2 minus for a total of 1 on this roll. But I think I'd like to succeed on on spooking the dog and getting them back in a good situation by kind of drawing a lot of unwanted attention to myself.
Okay, gotcha. All right, no problem. You succeed exactly what you're doing. The dog is dazed and kind of like, it stops barking, looks up at this flash, go up into the sky. And as we know, dogs hate fireworks. So it just goes running back into its kennel and disappears in there. The people across the street who are haranguing the guy who's like, oh, there's no giver here, I swear, as he gets pulled out of his house. The gang that are doing that kind of stop, see the flare, fly into the air. And then they look at you, Kalos, and they recognize you, and they're like, oh, he's onto something. There's someone in that house. And they all like begin to come over as well, ostensibly to help you. But now they're like, they just start like taking their hatchets to the back fence and begin to create a gap in the fence. Let's get in there. The giver must be in there. It's a sign. It's a signal.
We got to get in before they get in.
Can I try and invoke that aspect I created earlier of our riled up, persuadable crowd?
Yes, you can. So you can use a fate point to invoke the aspect.
I think I'll do that.
You get to do it once for free.
Oh. Yes, no, that is true. Correct, because you created. So
you don't have to
aspect.
use a fate point. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Sean.
No problem. That's why I'm here.
My character is thinking very fast, and so I'm trying to. Is there any other big building in town that I could just like look out onto the horizon and see?
Yeah, absolutely. The clock tower. Everybody knows the clock tower. It's not that far from here. It's close to the town square. It's got like a sundial on the side of it that doesn't work because it's a vertical sundial. But everybody knows the clock tower.
I will raise my arms and say, no, you fools, not this house. I directed up into the sky to the highest point of this town. Look to its highest point.
Okay, cool. I will get you, and this is overcoming a problem. I'll get you to roll clever. You add 2 to the result because you're invoking the aspect.
All right, here. My clever's +1, blank blank minus minus. That's a -1, +2 from the aspect. That is a +1.
Okay, cool.
Now, you can also spend a fate point to completely re-roll all the dice.
Oh, let's do that.
I actively didn't know that. Go for it.
Let's do that. Okay. That is blank blank plus plus +1 +2. That's a 5 now.
Okay, great, perfect.
Just a little different. Just a little.
A little better.
Okay, so for overcoming an obstacle you succeeded with style because you got more than what you, like more than what you needed. It's like rolling +5 on an ability check in 5e. So I think it's like if you roll +3 over or +2 over what the DC that I set. Anyway, details.
Cool.
Not only do they be like, the clock tower, of course the clock tower, it must be its lair, that thing doesn't work at all. And
that's
they all
what I
turn
said.
around.
I said clock tower. I did. You heard me.
Add a little +1 for the help as you chip that in there. They all go running off like riotously towards the clock tower. Even the guy who's like getting pulled out of his house, he's like, what, clock tower? He goes running off as well. Just leaving his house open. Creating
He's a mobster now.
The kids are like, Daddy, where are you going?
Yeah, they're looking out as well. That creates a boost. Sean, correct me if I'm wrong. I was struggling to wrap my head around these. I believe this is also an aspect that you can invoke, but I think it needs to be invoked immediately.
Well, you can invoke it one time.
Right, gotcha. What would you like that aspect to be? What makes sense to you, James, in the context of this?
Ooh, I would say Does this aspect have to be something about the mob?
No, it could be something about the situation. It could be something about yourself or somebody else.
Tell me if this doesn't jibe, but I'd like to make an aspect about the clock tower,
Okay.
which is fortified.
Okay, yeah, great. Yes. That's exactly why you thought of the clock tower. Is not only was it the biggest one in town, but you were also like, they won't get in there. It's fine.
Yeah, they will be pounding on that door for hours.
Yeah, great. How much damage could they do? Whatever.
It's fine.
You're now standing in a street that is empty, quiet. There's a hole in the fence. It's not a massive hole, but it's enough for you all to step through if you want to. The dog is just like you can hear its bones shivering inside of its kennel. Otherwise, it's a quiet, wintry night.
Thanks for the assist.
How would you like to proceed?
Well, I mean, I feel like Brillo, can you handle the chimney and I'll get this one in?
I will do my best.
Are we bringing the tall guy in? Are we bringing...
Sorry, I didn't
Big,
quite
large,
catch
huge.
that.
Are we bringing the tall guy in with us as well?
Hey, Big, do you want to come in or do you want to wait out here?
That's a very good question for Big Good Sir, aka Big McLarge Huge, which is what his friends call him. He thinks about it for a solid second. I'm actually going to make a roll for him. This isn't necessarily a rules roll, but I'm just going to make a roll. He does not want to come in. He kind of like scratches his head for a second. He sees the crowd run off. He looks at Kalos, who he was already suspicious of, and just goes, "I'll watch. Guard." And just like crosses his arms and like stands and pretends to watch the street, but he's really watching Kalos out of the corner of his eye.
Okay, great. So then I don't need to find like a big window or anything. You happy? I turn to Kalos. Are you happy? Are you happy to climb in a window, or would you rather I unlock the front door for you?
Kalos Drake does not climb into windows.
Okay, noted. Good. Excellent. So if Brillo can handle the chimney, I'm gonna just come in through a window, sneak on in. Probably you mentioned that they were locked, so I'll probably take my time unlocking a window. Just just.
Okay. Is this a clever roll that or a careful? I think would more accurately.
Yeah, I
be.
really hope it's not a clever roll.
You're forceful. You're trying to break the window open. No, I'm just
Yes. I would say it's a clever roll, which activates my stunt. So for people who don't know, stunts are like extra cool things that you can do given specific circumstances that are sort of previously established. So my stunt is that because I am a dab hand with locks, I get +2 to carefully overcome obstacles when I attempt to bypass a lock. So let's hope that saves me from my own terrible rolls. Climbing up to a window.
No.
Folks, it's not good. It's not good. I'm gonna have to spend a fate point. I think this is I have a reputation to uphold. I rolled 3 minuses and a blank. And I'm just not dealing with that today. So I'm gonna re-roll
Great.
with my fate point. Because I have a reputation to uphold, okay? Okay, that's only 1 minus and 3 blanks, so that is better. So that's +2 for careful, which brings me to +1, and +2 for my stunt, which brings me to +3.
Hey.
Exactly what you needed as that lock just pops open after a few moments of careful, considered lock picking. While you're doing that, while you're picking that lock, I think particularly given your careful approach, Brillo has probably had time to start climbing the house. Is that what you wish to do, Brillo?
Absolutely.
Make for me, what do you think this would be? Are you trying to get up the house as quietly as possible, as quickly as possible? Or are you just like punching holes in the wall and climbing up Wolverine style to get up there as forcefully as possible?
What I'm really trying to do is figure out the easiest way to do this to see how someone else might do it. I'm trying to be clever, I would say. Trying to be clever about it to find the way that would be easiest for someone else.
Okay. Roll clever for me.
All right. Boom. 2 pluses and 2 blanks. So with my clever of +2, that comes out to a +4.
You can see on the inside of the fence from the backyard, there is like a bit of a garden that's being grown here. As Eleanor approaches the window and begins to kind of unlock it, the ground floor window, which is up on a bench or a porch is what I mean to say. You can see that like there's that wooden grid. I'm not really sure what it's called. A gardening grid, a
lattice.
There you go, a lattice. Thank you. There's a lattice that goes up the side of the porch, and that has vines that grow not just up the lattice, but when they get above the lattice, they kind of spread out and grow all across the second story. And in fact, actually reach up and get to the chimney as well. So it's not an issue for you to just climb up those vines, especially being as lightweight as you are, to get to the top.
So anyone that could climb a ladder basically could have climbed this.
You think it would have been like maybe not a
little
ladder?
harder?
Yeah,
Okay.
a little hard. Like, you have to have some athleticism.
Okay.
And also like the vines might snap away relatively easily for somebody who was, too big, too heavy. Mr. Big, huge, ginormous, muscly sir could not have possibly made it up this this vine lattice.
He has a lot of aliases.
He does. He's more notorious than we are at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, people see him in the street standing guard next to the broken fence and they're like, oh no, it's Mr. Huge Guy. Let's get out of here. And they just run away.
Excellent. All right, then I will move to the chimney to investigate that.
Okay, looking down through the chimney, it is narrow, but you do think that you could actually slot yourself down into it. It's not so much like a square chimney as one of those like kind of flat, long ones. The type. Everybody knows chimneys. So it's kind of like a letterbox opening for you to kind of jump down into. Fortunately, because it's so tight in there, you actually could, put your arms out and jimmy your way down. Just with the kind of friction of your own, body mass. But as the chimney gets wider, it would get, and you know this just from your burglary, your felonious knowledge. As it gets further down, you're kind of like pushing further and further. It would probably be, to be honest with you, unless you can figure out something else, another approach to this, possibly a forceful check, just because you need the physical strength to kind of keep your arms out to stop yourself just dropping down 2 stories into the house. You can use that approach if you want, or if you have another approach that you think would work equally well.
No, you know what? Anything for a piece of silver. That's my motto. So forceful, sure, why not? Here we go.
All right. You make a roll. Just hold on to the result for a second as I ask.
Will do.
Kalos, seeing these 2 felonious individuals, I'm going to use that word endlessly now, approach the window, get the lock open, and the other one's legs just disappear down the chimney. What are you doing? Are you following through the window? Are you...
I'm unlocking the door for you. Just
Yes,
so you know.
I'm awaiting my point of entry. I'm just standing by Mr. Good Sir. And
Okay,
I'll say,
great.
I'll just look to him and say, Dirk Hardpeck, you do good work.
The door clicks open. Sean, how did you go on that roll?
Oh, I got a 0 total, 0 on the dice. I am forceful +1, but since I will do anything for a piece of silver, including risk my neck at climbing, I'll use a fate point to make that a +3.
Okay, great. Not too difficult. Your arms are a little bit, the lactic acid is building up by the time you get to the bottom, but you basically roll out of the chimney. Fortunately, the fire not being lit in the fireplace, and roll out of it into, you all 3 of you find yourselves simultaneously inside this small, dark, kind of like living room space, and it is fairly homely, like these are a well-to-do family living inside of Landhaus than many of the surrounding spaces. You can see that there's this swooping staircase is the adjective I'm going to use, that climbs up to the second story of the house, and it's got this polished banister that comes down. The living room itself is nicely carpeted, though there's a bit of soot on there now. You can see above the fireplace, you kind of brush your head on it as you come out from the fireplace. There are stockings or old kind of like socks pinned to the fireplace, and two of them, there's actually three in total. There's a big sock, a slightly smaller sock, a little kid sock that looks like it's been finger painted, and then like a wheelie little baby sock that's also kind of pinned there as well. Nice, upholstered furniture. You can see there's portraits on the walls as well.
Yeah, I pick my houses like a kid who's trick-or-treating. I'm like, where are the people who are going to have the best candy? I feel wrong for saying candy. Okay, we got
it. As you come in here, there is also one other thing in here as well. There's an aspect to this room, which is the sound of a fly. Just kind of... And as you look down into the center of the room, it's kind of between the three of you as you all step inside, is sitting on the ground in the darkness. It just looks like a grey lump or two grey lumps, and a fly just lands on it.
No.
And closer inspection, you can see... It's not quite that prank. You can see that there is like a heart and what looks like, at a guess, a liver or some other organ.
Gross.
That's just like sitting there in the middle of the carpet, so utterly out of place with the rest of the way that this family seems to live. They definitely didn't leave it there themselves.
He's been here.
What do you think the fence will give for a heart and a liver?
I mean, probably nothing. I feel like you'd have to take this to Joffrey the butcher. Yeah. I mean, it depends on what meat, right? Like, what animal is this?
This
I don't
is
know.
awful.
I take offense to that. Terrible. Really bad.
I'm just stop this scene dead with that one.
Yeah. We need a moment's silence for that.
Yeah. Ooh, it hurts.
Just us shaking our heads slowly while James, you look down in your camera feed.
Kalos, you're from around here. Do you recognize whose heart and liver that is?
Let me gaze into the orb and see if I can find the answer to the question.
Oh, he's going to gaze into the orb.
Yes, so I'm going to produce the orb, and I'm going to hold it down by the heart and see what the mythic resonances of this world have to say to me.
Okay.
I imagine this would be a clever check, just to try and identify something about the grisly scene we see before us.
Let's say that it is. And I'm also, which I believe I'm able to do as the GM, the storyteller, the title that is whatever title is bestowed upon me in this game. I'm going to invoke one of your aspects to actually help you. And I'm going to invoke has visions from other worlds as you get down and try to consider what this is.
Thank you. Do I have to pay a fate point for that?
No. I pay a fate point on your behalf.
It's a good life for some.
Okay. 3 pluses, 1 minus. Plus 1 from my clever is 3. And are you saying I get a +2 from the further aspect
Correct.
That's been invoked?
Yep.
+5. Very nice.
Okay. That is definitely succeeding with style as you get down. I suppose. Sorry, we've fallen into 5e land. I think again, James, in terms of forgetting whether this is creating an advantage or overcoming an obstacle. Sean? What do you think this would be?
It really depends on if he's trying to figure out who this belongs to. I would say that's trying to overcome.
Okay.
If you're trying to get some a more a more nebulous advantage, then you're trying to create an advantage that could be, connected to the spirit world or something like that, which then you can invoke later as we do more investigation.
I think to me this sounds like an obstacle to us learning the truth, so I'd like to overcome the obstacle and get us closer to the truth.
Gotcha. Not only do you do that, you also get a boost. So you do get to create an aspect at the end of this. As you get closer, you look into your orb. You see shadowy figures in your orb. One approaches on your left shoulder. One approaches on your right shoulder. One, this shadowy half-elf gazing out at you from the orb. The other, a mysterious gnome wearing a helmet made of steel, gazes up at you. But
This
you're
is us looking over your shoulder at the crystal.
As you gaze into this crystal and wonder who these two individuals are, you hear something distant and faint, a sort of bleating, sounds like a goat or a sheep or something. These are not human remains, you are convinced, but that of an animal, likely a goat, you think, as you... I don't know if that's what goats sound like. Likely a goat as you stand back up and finish your scrying. You can also create a boost, creating an aspect that can be used once about this room, these organs, your orb.
I'd like to create an aspect of this room that is unmysterious, so that anyone who wants to search it is no longer bogged down by shadow or mystery. It becomes easier to look through for mundane objects.
Gotcha. You realize the mundanity of the objects in front of you, these so out of place and alien in this room, and they are still out of place, but when you realize that they are, probably from a butcher, it almost seems, it loses some of the suspense of it. However, as you note what these things are, stand back up, compose yourself, look around the room. The three of you do hear another noise. It's a creak on the stairs, and then you hear a tiny voice say, "Are you the Quiver?" That's all we have time for on this week's episode of the Eldritch Lorecast, but part 2 of A Very Grim Hollow Christmas is coming next week, so stick around because we will be back with the rest of this adventure. In the meanwhile, if you want to get in touch with us, you can email podcast@ghostfiregaming.com. Drop us a line. Tell us what you're doing over the festive season, if you've learned a new role-playing game, or just want to talk about tabletop RPGs in general. We look forward to seeing you all next week.